Hey y'all, it's me, Queen J, back with another episode of season 3 of the Let's Get Uncomfortable podcast. That's so crazy for me to say. But before we get into today's topic and start diving in, we always start with a bit of mindfulness. So that's never changing. It's just for us to kind of collect our thoughts, collect ourselves, just kind of come back to center, and just kind of have a collective woosah moment. So, with that being said, it is now for we have blunders. It is now time for us to pause, breathe, and relax. It is now time for us to enter a space free of judgment, just grace and only awareness for ourselves in wherever we may be along our healing journey and whatever we may be healing from. It is now time for us to, again, collectively woosah and allow ourselves to just be calm and be in the moment. And honestly, be appreciative of where you are, where you have come from, what you have overcome, and what you're going to achieve. I'm learning that we can't expect our lives to just get better magically. We have to be willing to have grace for ourselves and take it one day, maybe even moment by moment if we need to. All right, y'all. I hope that brought y'all some peace and some woosah because it always does that for me. It just gives me a little piece of tranquility and centers my mind. But we have a lovely guest. I'm not going to leave her waiting. This is Jeanie Taggart. I just met her over the weekend, and I'm so excited for you guys to just experience her and her story and her journey. So, with that being said, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me. It was so cool that we got to connect on Saturday at the Female Fit Con, and just in general, that was a cool experience.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
and so many cool encounters that day. I feel like it was you could just see the movement in there, and that
The
was exciting
energy
to
was
see.
so loving. Like, I
Yeah.
was so happy that I was like, okay, I don't care what I got going on, I'm making it there. Like,
Yeah, I'm
it was,
glad that you did.
yeah,
There's
me too.
you included of the many women I got to meet, and I think just everybody wanted to pour into one another. Like you could just feel that, and that
I
was
think that's
cool.
very rare in this day and
Mhm.
age too, to like be in a space where women are actually unafraid of pouring into one another, because I feel like we can talk about this as we get into it, but I feel like there's so much
Yeah.
competition amongst
Yeah.
women that it's so nice to be like, oh no, you're if you're not doing it right, then let me just adjust you. You know what I mean? Like, let
Yeah.
me show you what you're doing wrong so that you may
Mhm.
not harm yourself. You know what I mean? Like, that was really cool. Like, I really appreciated that. Like, that was
I
fun.
saw the business building too. Like that part was cool. You have so many people that were starting out, and you have people that are just giving insight. And I'm like, I love
Yeah.
to see it. There's
Yeah.
enough for everybody. Like
I
it was
feel like
cool.
I feel like I feel like in a very non-coincidental, like divinely purposed way, all of the
Amen.
entrepreneurs were in the building.
Yeah.
Because I was like, "Oh, you're crazy enough to be an entrepreneur. Oh, you're crazy enough to be like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm with it." And it was funny because I don't do the best at saying like, "Hey, this is what I do. This is who I am." And everybody else was like I tend to do this thing where, like, if I connect with someone, I'll tell them, "Oh, this is a part of me. This is what I do." And then I'll
Yeah.
tell somebody else, "Oh, this is a part of me, and this is what I do." And then that person will come around the room, and they're like, "You do that too?" I'm like, "Oh, yes, I do that as well." Like,
Yeah. You
so I
don't
have
you
to,
don't give all of it.
yeah. But I'm
I
excited
resonate with
for
that.
your story.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you for having me.
Of
So
course.
I started the Power of Health during COVID,
Mhm.
and I think my whole testimony kind of goes into all of this. So as
Yeah.
a kid, I was morbidly obese. I always struggled with being overweight, and
Mhm.
uh, chronic disease was like really really big in my family. So I watched a lot of like autoimmune disease and
Mhm.
heart disease. Like my mom had her first heart attack when I was in 5th grade, and
Oh my
so you
god.
know you see this like
Yeah.
trajectory of like what life could be like if you
Yeah,
don't make
yeah.
changes. But I mean, honestly, thank God I played sports. Sports kept me active. And so I was, I always struggled with that. I always struggled with autonomy of like fitting
Mhm.
in. I could never wear the same clothes as my friends because I was a big, big girl.
Yeah.
And then as I went through school, I think in high school is really when like
Mhm.
sports took over and you're like, oh, exercise will really change your body. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
because high school sports just changes the game. Like middle school sports, it's like, oh, good job, and then you get to high school, it's a totally different game. But
Yeah, for sure.
um, that kind of showed me physical activity. But then when I went to nursing school,
Mhm.
I fell in love with anatomy. My AMP teacher was one of my mentors, and like just understanding the human body, and I
Yeah.
just would ask so many questions like, if we know this, why do we do this? And she was like, you'll see later, like
Yeah,
just
yeah.
hang on.
You were
And
getting ahead of the curve, but that's so fun. That's so interesting that you say that because I too have a love for anatomy. Like it is I have been talking about this one of these things that just won't leave my brain, like the way that we store feelings in our body, like where
mm,
exactly do we feel it? Do we feel it on our shoulder? Is sadness like, you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
we can get into it. I could talk about it all day.
And that part is really, really cool too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But honestly, our human bodies they're so beautiful and intricate. And the more that you know, the more you're like, there's so much else to know.
Mhm, mhm.
And for me, I'm like, our bodies let us know, like, God is real. Like,
Yes. Oh
this,
yes, for sure,
our bodies are
100%.
incredible. But yeah, so anatomy was like something that I just like couldn't get enough of.
Mhm,
And so then once I graduated nursing school, I would come back and talk to my mentor. Her name was Dr. Z. And
mhm,
she mentioned functional medicine to me. And at the time, there was a doctor who's a big name now, Dr. Hyman.
mhm.
And he does a lot of like educational, I mean, he does podcasts and a
Yeah.
ton of content online, which I encourage everybody to look at his content because he does so much, I feel like, good for
Mhm.
everyone. But so I started learning about functional medicine, and I'm like, this is really, really interesting. Like it's essentially healthcare, but a different aspect of it. So
Yeah.
then I went and so I graduated nursing school, and I went and became a travel nurse, traveled a couple places throughout the country, and you
Mhm.
just continue to see this broken model of like, why is everybody sick, and like
Why is
handing
it
your
yeah.
patients a whole cup of pills every morning, and
Yeah.
like, why does surgery keep happening, like why does everybody have colon
Mhm.
cancer, and like, why is this happening? And
Yeah.
you leave them, they have the surgery, and you're like good luck on your
Mhm.
healing journey, but I'm like, there's something missing here. And
Yeah, yeah, like,
I
this
constantly
can't
would
be the final step. Yeah, yeah, I
there's
get you.
more.
Yeah.
Like, we need to be doing proactive and
Mm.
preventative. Like, I always was like, "Why is everybody ending up here? Like, why are we not working here?" And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
you start to you get into all of it with insurance and, like, where does
Mhm.
money come from? And but I realized, like, the preventative aspect is huge, and I'm like, in education, like, I have a passion for it, and I wanna
Mhm.
teach people, and not everybody wants to do that research, but that's okay. Like, I wanted to create the space for that. And
Yeah.
so I ended up traveling, and then I was like, I'm ready to go back to grad school. I want to do more. I want to be able to, as a nurse, like, you essentially kind of have to follow orders. And
Yeah, yeah.
it's a great nursing is amazing, and I enjoyed nursing, but
Mhm.
you want to do more. You're like, hold on, I want to have more of a voice to be able to help. And so grad school
Yeah.
led me to that. And so then I went back to and got my master's degree and became a nurse practitioner. And when I graduated, Dr. Z, my nursing school mentor,
Yeah.
introduced me to my now boss and great friend, who owned her own practice in functional endocrinology. And so
Wow.
yeah, so I went and I shadowed her, and I'm like, this is so cool. So
Uh-huh.
like very much proactive preventative medicine. And it was like the first time I'd ever seen a doctor's appointment where they're asking about like, what do you eat and what do you put on your body and
Wow.
what does your environment look like? How is your stress? And like really, really like those things
Those are
they
the
mattered.
Yeah, yeah, those make if you ask me, those make up the crux of the problem for someone, like getting to
Huge.
the root of the issue because those
Yeah.
are the questions that are missing in a regular doctor's appointment, in my
Amen.
opinion, to be completely
They
honest.
are.
Yeah.
They are. And I think there's multiple reasons for that too. Time,
Mhm.
but that was huge to me, is like, I wanted to be able to spend the time with my patients and to really, really, um, get to, like, when did this start? How did it
Yeah.
start? What caused this? And, so anyways, I started training with her, and then towards the end of grad school, I was doing my hours with her, and
Yeah.
she had offered me a position, and so after I graduated, I started working with her, and I think the greatest blessing of all is training with her and learning from her. And she also is not from the United States, she's from Russia, which this part is really important and I think really
Wow.
cool, is because Dr. G's um, upbringing and a lot of her education was not
Mhm.
conventional Western medicine.
Not
And
at all.
so,
Not at
yeah,
all.
so,
So that
yes,
that plays a huge role. Let's just say that. That plays a huge role.
yeah. So I got to learn a lot of stuff that, like, you wouldn't learn in
Yeah.
typical education here, and granted, there's becoming a lot more of it,
Mhm.
but so I went into functional endocrinology, which is, so functional medicine or integrative medicine is taking, and I think integrative is a better term to probably
Mhm.
to say what I do, but you're taking your conventional medicine and you're taking more of a holistic approach and you're blending them together. There's a time and place for medications, there's a time and place for a lot of things, but
Mhm.
I really, really wanted to solve your problem. So, that's kinda how I got to this point, in terms of my education. But I
Mhm.
started this, so let me kinda circle back. So I started the Power of Health during COVID because
Yeah.
many people knew my story of being overweight and struggling with my health and kind of, like, working through all of these
Yeah.
things, and so I, would get asked questions, and, COVID, we couldn't go to the gym. So I started working out from home
Me
and, like,
too.
posting my workouts. Yeah, and next thing you know, I had, like, a, Zoom link every Tuesday and Thursday where me and my friends would just work out on Zoom. Well, then it became a thing, and I posted about it, and people were asking
Wow.
me, and so then this just kinda birthed from that naturally, and
Wow, I love that. Can you scooch
yeah,
over just to scooch your webcam? I wanna see the yeah, there we go. I wanna
yeah,
see the whole thing. There you go.
yeah. Yes. So, that was in 2020, and that time I was going back to grad school, so kind of all these
Mm.
overlapped. And I
But that's
knew the
awesome.
yeah, it was a process. It's been a journey to get to here because I knew really being able to, like, order labs and to do all the things to dig deeper, I had
Mhm.
to be able to be a practitioner, and so grad school was that key. And
That
so
was
going
the
to grad school,
yeah, yeah, that was the thing that was missing. You had to be able to do all
yeah.
the things to help the people find the power of their health. I get that. That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
really
and
nice.
I chose that name because I feel like you don't realize how much power you hold in your hands of your own health, and
Yeah.
education is a huge part of that. Like, you have the ability to change your health more than anybody, and the
Yeah.
more educated you are, the more empowered you are to change your health. And I think the education component is so big to me. I talk
Yeah.
so much in my appointments just telling people stuff because it encourages them to do it,
It
you know?
does,
So,
yeah. But I think well, I guess that leads into my first question for you. How did
yeah.
you deal with, like, that education aspect of someone who let's say you had a client or a patient who wasn't as educated and as informed and they push back against, like, what they think they know. How would you guide them to not necessarily believing what you believe, but, like, guide
Yeah.
them to the right, uh answers,
Like,
I guess?
answer.
Yeah, 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 there
Yeah.
you go.
I think the biggest thing is trust. Truthfully, it as a practitioner, like, if
Mhm.
your patients don't trust you, they're not gonna take what you say and do it. And
Yeah.
so it's delivery, it's how you explain it, and and I tell patients sometimes, I'm like, "I want you to be able to make the best decision for yourself, and I'm gonna give you multiple options."
Wow.
And I think too, like, the more educated they are about, like, why I'm telling them to do something, they get why I would encourage them to do it.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things, like, for the longest, like, whenever I go to the doctors, like, I was the why girl. I was like, "Okay, well, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this?" So, not a lot of people know this about me, but when I was in college, I actually started with wanting to be a radiologist. So I had to yeah.
I like that though. That's such a cool
Yeah.
profession in its own.
That's
So
what I wanted so more than anything. I was like, okay, I want to do the MRI scans. I like give me a bone graft. I'll tell you, like, you know, like that was literally what I wanted to
yeah.
do. And all of that actually started from so when I was growing up, uh I was very active. So I too did a lot of sports. But what ended up happening was I had a aneurysmal bone cyst from the base of my knee to the middle of
Okay.
my femur.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
yeah, and so in that in in my bone marrow was like 1 millimeter thin in some areas, so it could have just snapped.
Yeah.
And it was all because, long story short, they say that it grew as I grew, but
Mhm.
they don't really know how long I had it. It appeared to have grown as long as I was growing. And I had to get like these injections of doxycycline, and I'm gonna get real nerdy, but that's
Yeah.
when they inject it in the side of your femur, and you have to wait like 3 to 4 months to get another one and use. So I kept having to get these surgeries, but I kept asking why. I was like, okay, why is this happening? Why is my blood marrow doing this? Why is this? Why is this? Why is this?
Yes,
And
that's
so,
it.
yeah, like it propelled me to go into radiology and anatomy because I wanted to understand it more. Like I still have a tab literally on my computer that has like the aneurysmal bone cyst like research that I was doing
Yeah.
because I wanted to understand my body and what was happening. But it all stemmed from like a vitamin D deficiency and like calcium deficiency as well.
Okay,
So
yeah.
they were like super blown away when they were like, "Oh, you need to like what do you do?" Like I was getting like all of this happened because I was going to condition for track. All of this happened because I was getting looked at for track and like making sure that I was able to run. They were like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't." If you hit a hurdle and you smack that thing, yeah, you're in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. Like, no.
Yeah.
But imagine like being so active. You're in like volleyball, you're in track, you're doing dance, you're doing all these things. And then suddenly
Mhm.
the doctor just says, "Hey, you got to stop for like the next
It's
3 years."
devastating. It
For the,
Yeah, and there's many people who are like, "I'm not going to do that." And
oh yeah, I was one of them. I tried to skirt around that as much as possible, but like I had the type of family that was like, "Do you want to be in a wheelchair?" I was like, "No, I don't, but I
yeah.
miss volleyball. Like I miss I miss these things." So,
Yeah.
it's very interesting that you also had that like drive to figure out why, cuz that led me to understand my body a lot more and really Oh, hold on. That is crazy. Nobody's talking to you. Okay. Um Anyway, that led to me wanting to understand why a lot more, why about my body. But it
But the why
also
is the important part for
Mhm.
every patient.
Yeah.
Truthfully, like, I wish granted, my appointments would be 3 hours as my patients ask why about every single thing, like, I
Yeah.
want you to ask why, and I love to give you the answers, but sometimes
Mhm.
I'm like, "Alright, I gotta tell you what I gotta tell you," but,
Yeah, of course.
the why is important. As a patient, as I think let's not say everybody is a patient, as an individual, you should
Yeah.
be asking why,
Yeah.
and if you're not getting the answer today's day and age, get online. Start finding out the why because
Yeah.
the issue is here, but where did it start? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, and we can
That's
totally dig into that.
That's one of the things that I wanted to ask you about because one of the things that kind of like blew my mind because like I said, I saw all this on social media at some points, but I was like, I don't know if this is real. I don't know if I should believe this. So when we were talking
Yeah.
about like the use of like feminine hygiene products, and I kept seeing this pop up, and I was like, well, I don't know if this is right, if this is real. I don't know if this is actually happening. And then at the panel, when we were at Female FitCon, you were saying like, yeah, it's real, and we should be careful of like which products that we use. So like I guess I wanted to understand the why behind that. Like why are certain products like cuz growing up when I was in 5th grade, I remember them saying you want to use tampons and you want to use these and you want to use this, and it's like we're in 5th grade. I don't think I want to use a tampon. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
For sure. It's a lot and for a
Yeah,
5th
but
grader.
like
Yeah.
every time I would ask why, they would just be like, "Oh, cuz they're just more comfortable and like they last longer." And you know what I mean? And I'm like, but why? Like I'm still you're giving me like the surface level why. I need to know why. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's what they were told. I mean,
Mhm.
honestly, an answer like that, it's because that's what they were told or they were
Yeah.
essentially educated, trained to do, and that's probably what health class said. And
Yeah.
you should question that why. I think that's a great thing.
Yeah.
But so feminine products in general, I
Yeah.
would say looking for non-toxic products is huge. So one of the things I had touched on at
Mhm.
the Female FitCon on Saturday was that we are exposed as women, we are exposed to so many things because
Yeah.
think about when we get up and we get ready,
Mhm.
you take a shower, your body wash, your face wash,
Mhm.
anything you put on your body if you're washing your hair that day, anything that's touching your scalp. So like you're already exposed to read the back of the bottle, however
Yeah.
many that is. It could be 50 products and or 50 ingredients in that product. And then you get out of the shower, you put on deodorant, how many things are you exposed to there?
Mhm.
And then what type of makeup are you putting on?
Which
What
is
type of face
crazy.
moisturizer? Yeah.
That was
So
one of the
egg,
things but not to cut you off, but that was one of the things
yeah,
that blew my mind when you were like, "Yeah, make sure you're checking your makeup too." And I was like, "Makeup?" Like, I don't even wear
yeah,
makeup, but like that's scary to think about. Like, first of all, this is in our food. This is in our, you know what I mean? Like we have to think about so many things. That's a
yeah.
little scary. Like when I first heard you say that, I was like, "Oh, I'm terrified." I have the app now. I have the app and I've been
You're scanning
I've been
everything and looking up.
yes,
Yeah.
but I've been devastated because I discovered that a lot of the products that I just recently bought, I can
Oh,
like
no.
yeah, like
Oh,
the
no. That's the
yeah, so
worst. You're
some
like, "Oh,
of
I really like this one too."
yeah, and I've been wearing it like pretty consistently, so I'm like, that's not good.
Yeah.
But like,
Phase it out. Phase it out. I think sometimes there's give and take. Like,
yeah, I
don't get me
see.
wrong.
But I definitely was using the app. I have been using it. I have been scanning and I'm like, how much am I going to be scanning? Not that I don't want to care about my health. Don't get me wrong. I care.
Yeah.
But like I was telling my friend because I was so excited about it, and she was like, "I might not get that app." But I was like, "Why?" And she was like, "Because I don't eat healthy, and I don't want to scan anything that I know I probably shouldn't be eating. Like, I might have to just go with the cancer." I was like, "No,
She's like, ignorance is bliss, which
yeah."
sometimes, you know what? Like, if that's what you choose, that's what you choose. That's fair.
I
But
totally get it. But I feel like sometimes I do want to put that band-aid back on just a little.
just leave it be.
Just to
Yeah. No,
indulge in a little bit of stuff because then you get so I guess you kind of can get bogged down with all of the oh my god this is bad for me, this is toxic, well is this but it's what Liv was talking about in moderation. It's not
exactly.
bad, but that's the thing
Exactly.
that we don't understand as people. We don't understand
It's
moderation.
like,
We're just like,
yeah.
oh yeah, we're what like we don't even know, we don't really properly like when we're talking about meal prepping, we don't really know how to meal prep. So we just
Hmm.
be like, "Oh, I made a whole pot of like," and I do this. I'm guilty of this. We'll make a whole
Yeah.
pot of something. We won't divide it up. We'll just be like, "Oh, I'll just eat it. I'll just have it in. It's for
I
the
didn't
week.
weigh it at all.
It'll. Just, I didn't weigh it. It'll be in there for a week. Yeah, within 2 nights, it's gone. The whole thing was supposed to last, and that's me. I'm being honest. But like,
Hey, that's fair.
if
That's
we have
fair.
portion control, that's moderation. If we have scales,
Hmm.
that's moderation. But like, I think a lot of people don't want to do like. I mean, I know for a fact, if it came down to me actually meal prepping and like scaling it out and stuff, I'd be like, it's just gonna go in my body. So just
But you know what? I think sometimes there's like levels to it too. So like
yeah,
if you make your own clean ingredient
hmm
foods and you're eating more of that
yeah,
versus eating out, you
yeah,
made a good choice. You know what I mean?
exactly,
Granted, now when you're following your macros and you're on plan and you're doing all,
yeah.
that's important. So I think it just depends on like what is your goal right now? Is it how much exposure you get to bad food, or is it like we
Mm.
are in a cut and we need to be on point? Then that's a different thing. So
So what is the that leads into my next question. Cuz I keep hearing about macros and micros a lot. But I'm
yeah,
somebody that is still actively recovering from body dysmorphia. So there's certain things that I just don't partake in. Like I don't have
yeah,
no scales in my house because that triggers me to just overthink like,
yeah,
well, man, that scale isn't high enough or it's not low enough or it's not whatever. Like, but my body fluctuates. The weight fluctuates. We're women, it's going to fluctuate,
yep.
you know?
There you go.
So No scales for me. I'm fine with that. But when it comes to like my nutritional value, I don't pay attention to that either. I'm not really a numbers girly. Like I numbers freak me out, especially when they get higher.
Yeah, fair
So
enough.
when it comes to like trying to figure out your macros and your micros, like is it based off like solely what your goal is for your body or for your overall health, or what, how does that work?
I would, so that answer I think kind of depends on like where are we? So are we in
Mm.
a state of like the body needs to be supported? So there's
Mm.
times like hormonally, and I can get like really into
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
but
yeah. That's
I
fine.
think the biggest thing, like, so for a woman who's lost her period, which is a common thing, like
Yeah.
and you ran track,
Yeah.
common sport that girls lose their periods.
Yes.
Track and gymnastics, probably two of the biggest ones,
Mhm.
because of the high caloric
Intensity.
demand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're burning calories. So your ability to make sex hormones like estrogen and
Mhm.
progesterone and testosterone, you just burn through everything that you have, and so you kind of go into this state of being in a deficit. Your body's in a deficit.
Ah.
So it just depends on where we are, like depending on what your body needs and macronutrients. So, if we need to recover a period, then
Mhm.
you're going to need more carbohydrates, you're going to need more fats.
Mhm.
And and I think working with like somebody who's really trained in that would be helpful. But if you want like specific numbers, that's definitely something I would encourage. But
Ah.
macros, micros, the biggest thing is to me is balanced meals, protein intake, making sure that you're sufficiently fueling your body pre and post workouts.
Okay.
Not overdoing it. I am a big fan of macros and macro counting, but I am not a big fan of it for somebody that it messes with them. Like, I'd rather worry about what type of ingredients you're getting. Are you getting good
Ah.
sources of food, and are you eating a colorful plate? Is it diverse? Do you switch your
Yeah.
vegetables? Are you
Okay.
eating different sources of meat? Because every different meat that you eat has different micronutrients and amino acids, and
Yeah.
your veggies, if you only eat one veggie, you're only getting that profile of vitamins and minerals. So trying to switch it up because
Yeah.
we need all of those.
Mhm.
So I think it's kind of a basic answer for that.
No, that actually
Now,
helped me. That helped me that helped me understand more that like my head is on straight when it comes to like, especially I'm someone that used to, I think I used to be addicted to sugar
yeah,
in a very unhealthy way, and used to be addicted to like maybe the yeah, saturated fats, like the this really unhealthy like
like
greasy,
chips.
yeah, like chips
Yeah.
and just,
Hmm.
but like as I've gotten more into my wellness journey, I've realized like I can't eat the same. I can't eat the same because the effects that I wouldn't have before, I'm now having. Like I'm like that I would probably have like days later, I'm now having like instantly. Oh, I'm more sluggish, I'm more tired, I'm
Yeah.
irritated, I'm bloated. These things either become an excuse for me not to go to the gym or become an excuse for me to eat more. So
Yeah.
there's, you know what I mean? There's no balance there. So that
Hmm.
definitely helps me with like a frame of mind is like, okay, what's my framework for, I guess, healthy eating? You know what I mean? So something like
Whole
that.
Foods. I
Yeah.
think the first place that I would start is Whole Foods. Like, not the store, sure, but I'm talking like
You mean-
Whole like, Whole Foods has a lot of these foods, but
yeah,
you
yeah,
don't have to go to Whole
yeah.
Foods to get them. I just think, like, we try to eat foods that are pre-made and
Mhm.
convenient, and granted, there's time and place for it, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
really, really encourage, like, your meats should when you buy your meat, it should be just the meat without the seasoning or an oil on it, and your veggies and
Mm.
nuts and one ingredient foods, and you can put them together to make
And to
something
make
cool.
something cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I do too, but I also have like this allergy that I'm working through. I'm learning. I'm
Yeah,
finding my Liv was teaching me all these different things. There's something out there for everyone. So again, if you
yeah.
have an allergy, you can find your food. I promise.
You can. You
Yeah.
can. I suffer with it too.
You
Food
do?
allergies,
What allergy do you have if you don't mind my asking?
I don't mind at all. So gluten was the first thing that I struggled with. And
Uh-huh.
then, so know that when your immune system starts to be heightened, you can
Mhm.
develop more food allergies, which is stress and inflammation and all these things
No.
can heighten your immune system. So when we work on that, we can put these to sleep too. So
What?
that's why it's yeah, so preventative, you know what I mean? So
But I didn't know that.
gluten
That's crazy.
yeah.
That you just blew my mind. So you
Yeah,
telling me
if you weren't born with it and you developed it later on in life, more than likely it's you need to avoid it most of the time,
Yeah,
but if
yeah, yeah.
you calm your body down,
Uh-huh.
that food sensitivity, because that's really what it probably is a sensitivity, not a true allergy. Like now, if your throat closes up, we got a different problem.
That's what I got. But
That's what you
Imma
got.
stay away from it. I still stay
Yeah,
away from it because my thing
yeah,
is I don't like going to the hospital for that thing.
yeah.
I
Okay,
really
so that's a different story.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a totally
yeah.
different story.
But
If we
food
have, because that's an
sensitivity yeah.
anaphylactic response. But yeah,
Mhm.
food sensitivity is if you calm your body down, calm your immune system down, you can essentially kind of put them to rest, and if you eat that food every now and then, you won't have as bad of a response. Now, when you have anaphylactic response like you do,
Mhm.
it's you got to be careful. Potentially, if you really, really calm your immune system down and you got
Yeah.
exposed a little bit, you might not have as bad of a reaction, but it's still there's a good chance that you could.
Could
So,
err on caution for sure. Cause I know, like,
yeah.
when I was
What
getting
is it,
my
if you don't mind me asking? I'm like, what are
yeah.
you
Oh.
what put you in the hospital, girl?
Oh, oh, I'm totally open about it. So, almonds, cashews, walnuts,
Oh,
pecans, hazelnuts, pistachios, and surprisingly, I am not allergic to coconut or
okay.
peanuts or but apparently I could be allergic to like Brazil nuts because that's also in the tree nut family, but I ain't never had
Yeah.
one. So, yeah.
Yeah. Stay away from him.
Yeah. I will. I
Yeah.
will. I
Let's
will.
not find out.
I was
Yeah.
so nervous about plums though because
Okay.
they also are considered a tree nut and I had one and I was like, is this like I had already eaten it and I was like, is this bad?
Uh-oh.
So I was literally like I do this thing where sometimes like I forget about the allergy. Sometimes I forget that it's tree nuts. So if I don't
Yeah.
know that it's a legit like a tree considered a tree nut, I literally just pull out my phone. I'm like, okay, you might be having an allergic reaction, but let's just Google it and see if this is a tree nut. And like, of course, like
Mm,
my boss and like, cause we were on a work trip in Toledo and
uh-huh.
I had a plum and I was like, are plums tree nuts? And I could not get the direct answer from Google. They were saying like,
Yeah.
yes, they're part of tree nut family. And I'm like, are you sure? Like,
Yeah. Were
you
you
know,
fine or what happened?
I was fine. I was totally
Okay.
fine. But the ones that I have to like I have to stay away from like kind bars because that's what triggered the first initial reaction. And it was
Yeah.
funny because or I guess not necessarily funny, ironic.
There we
Because
go.
the doctors were like I was freaking out and I was like scratching and I had hives everywhere. And the doctors were like, "Okay, so have you had any like hives in the past?" They were asking about my history and stuff. And I was telling them
Yeah.
my history and they were like, "Okay, well, we want you to know this. Everything that you're experiencing right at this moment is because of this allergic reaction." I said, "Oh, this is a lot for an allergic reaction." Like
Yeah.
my throat wasn't like fully closing up, but I was like breaking out in hives. It was really not good. But they told me
Yeah.
to stay away from kind anything, like kind bars because they didn't know specifically what tree nut it was. And
Yeah.
so I've had to stay away from them for a while, but they actually have like oat and honey bars and things like
Okay.
honestly, I will food test myself now. So like
Just a little bit.
just a little bit. Like if I'm paranoid that it's made in a facility, like even if it's made in a facility, because the allergy is so common, and things are
Mhm.
processed in facilities that are made with tree nuts or that handle tree nuts, that cross contamination is possible. So I have to
Very.
be very very careful with like what I do buy. And if I
Yeah.
do buy something that says made in a facility with tree nuts, I have to be like, okay, well, let's just take a little bite of it
Yeah.
to ease my anxiety a little bit, even though it's possible that I won't have any reaction. But I still have to be like, okay, how long has it been? Oh, okay, I can eat that. Like, it's fine. You know what I mean? Because you never
Yeah.
know. I didn't make it in the facility, so I don't know. But
It's so hard to say.
yeah, but there are now tree nut free facilities. So like Made Good,
Oh yeah.
they make their stuff in a tree nut free facility. There's these oh my god, there's these bars that I they're fig bars and
Oh,
I can't remember what they're called right now. They're in my I just had some.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with those either.
But they are super good. They have a
And
flavor
they don't
called
bother you.
yeah, they don't bother me. Because they're made in a like I checked the box. It's sold at Target. It's a made in a tree nut free facility. I
Good.
almost grabbed 2 boxes because I was like, "Oh, I'm good. I'm safe."
Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
good idea.
But
Stuff like that, you probably need to just stock up on, and you kind of just know your things that
I think that's
you
what
can
I
grab.
should do. I have a whole list of things, but like every week it changes. I'm like, do I want to try that? Because I can't just go out and buy all of it. I gotta see
Yeah,
which
if you
ones I
like it or
like.
not first, and then you like get more of it.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah,
But
for
yeah, that's a
sure.
tough one.
Yeah, it
Tree nuts
is.
is
It
definitely a
is.
tough one for
It
sure.
definitely is. But I do like that nowadays there is something for everyone. And that's one of the things like we're talking about understanding that we have the power to heal ourselves and the power to understand
Amen.
our health. If
Yeah,
I didn't know that I was allergic to these things, I probably was gonna be like eating these things and then
for sure.
you know what I mean? That would have been bad. So
Yeah.
if I hadn't have gone through those terrifying experiences, I wouldn't have known, you know what I mean? So like cashews is a
Yeah.
no-go.
Yeah. You carry your EpiPen, I hope. Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
of course, of course.
Yeah.
Of course I carry my EpiPen. I have to. But I think one of the things that is still daunting for me is cuz some restaurants really don't care. Some restaurants
Yeah.
they operate in whatever capacity that works for them that even if I tell them they're like, "Well, okay, we don't actually know. I'll have to ask," or they'll ask but you don't ever know for sure if they asked because
Right.
it's so common. But some restaurants, they're really good on it because they can get sued. You know what I mean? They can have
Yeah.
like liability and stuff like that. So they do care. But there
Yeah.
are certain restaurants that don't. That's the only thing that's a little daunting for me because I have to constantly say, "Hey, I have this allergy." That's why I don't eat out as much as I used to.
It's almost a good thing in a way. I can relate to that, but it's
Yeah,
scary.
it
Where
is.
give me your top 2 places in Cincinnati you'll go to go out to eat if you know you're safe.
Go out to eat if I know that I'm safe.
Like, where would you
BJ's,
go and
BJ's
okay,
for one. I love BJ's.
that's my
And
boyfriend's favorite restaurant
I
ever.
was going to say O'Charlie's, but I haven't been to O'Charlie's in a really long time, to be honest.
Okay.
So, um, I
But you
said
know you're good at those.
I know I'm good at those. Yeah, I
Yeah, that's
definitely.
important.
There's other places that like I went to Agave and Rye, perfect there too. Like there are certain
Okay.
restaurants that I will try, but sometimes I don't want to tell them that I have the allergy.
I know, it's, like, annoying at
It's really
times.
annoying.
You could go to Seasons 52 if you're looking for something, like, a little bit
Where's that?
nicer. Rookwood. But
Oh,
they're really, really good about like they don't microwave they have no microwave in their restaurant, which to me, I'm like, most restaurants microwave like
yeah,
some stuff.
yeah.
They
Mhm.
don't have fryers, they don't fry anything. Everything is like from scratch. Like
Wow. Okay,
so you probably be good there.
we
Yeah.
might have to let me
Yeah,
I'm
write that
writing
one
that one
down.
down. Look, yep, let me
Yeah,
write that one
I
down.
would. I definitely would.
Seasons
Um
52. Okay. I think I've heard of that. I do look at restaurants often, so but I honestly prefer cooking at home more than anything because
it's better all around. It's
yeah,
cheaper. You know what's in your food. Yeah,
yeah. Oh,
fair enough.
yeah. I was gonna say something else, but I don't forgot. But it doesn't matter. It was something to do with food. But it honestly, I could talk about food for a while because I have eaten, but I haven't eaten enough today. So I'm like, ooh, food. But
You're hungry. Yeah, you're ready to talk about food. I get
yeah.
that.
Um. Hold on. Let me get a drink of water because I'm thirsty. Got my water bottle. I know what I wanted to ask you.
Yeah,
So, cucumber water or like fruit flavored water, like naturally fruit flavored, like with like the whole fruit, or
yeah.
no, not at all. Like, is that a good idea?
Oh, absolutely. I think
Yeah.
any is if you're using like a whole fruit
Mhm.
and you're just cutting it up and putting it in there,
Yeah.
like grapefruit or lemon and cucumber, you're best for like not adding any. really any calories, any
Really?
carbohydrates.
Okay.
Now, grapefruit in your water is actually pretty good, but there's a little bit more sugar involved. So
Okay,
those are,
okay.
I mean, cucumber water is pretty good.
It is good, but I was drinking it for a week and I felt like I was thirstier.
Huh.
I don't
With
know what
cucumber
that
water.
means. That's why I was
Well, I
like,
know when you drink
uh-huh,
lemon water actually helps you to, it like penetrates in the mouth. So it makes your, they say makes your water wetter because you absorb it better.
uh-huh.
And I think it's mainly because of the vitamin C in it, but I don't know about cucumbers. I have to look that one up. I'm sure there's a correlation, but it
'Cause
could
I
be
was
just a cucumber
thirstier.
in your mouth.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. I
Not a
really
bad thing if it makes you drink more water.
no, I
That
drink water all the time. That's the thing, but
okay.
it was almost like I couldn't I don't know. It was almost like I felt dehydrated after I drank a whole thing of this, and I'm like, "This is supposed to make me feel hydrated. What is happening?" Like,
Right. Yeah.
they're doing the
I'm not
opposite.
sure. I'll have to
Yeah,
look that one
Imma
up.
have to look that one up too because I was like I remember because on Saturday, I was talking with someone, and I was like, "Okay, so this is" that was what I was drinking. They were like, "Are you" I was like, "I'm thirsty, but I don't want cucumber water because it's making me more thirsty, and it's not curbing any thirst." So
Yeah.
but somebody suggested that, like, maybe I put a little bit of salt in it or something. I have no idea. I'll definitely do the research, but I
Yeah.
think that there's so many different tools and tricks to understand our bodies better that
Mhm.
it's an ongoing thing that we're learning about. Like, do you find stuff like every day where you're like, I didn't know
Every day.
that, and I have all this knowledge. Like, what's
So
one
it's like
thing?
I said, the more you know, the more
Yeah.
you realize you like don't know, and it just keeps you just keep digging deeper. There's so many avenues of optimizing your health.
What's your favorite avenue of optimizing your health?
Ooh,
Mhm.
that's a good one.
Making you think.
Yeah. I gosh, that is hard to give you one.
You can give me a couple. You can give me your top
Okay.
3. Top 3.
I I feel like so much of what we consume, like,
Mm.
and not just what we consume by way of food, but also like what we consume mentally and spiritually too. But I'm so big on ingredients. Like
Mm.
I read the ingredient label of everything, and like I just, if there's one thing that I feel like has changed my health and like
Mhm.
reverse some things, is being very cautious of like what toxins go into my body. More so like what I'm eating.
Mhm.
So I think nutrients and ingredients, like nutrient density of food and ingredients, is probably one of the bigger ones.
Yeah.
Um, but also stress and the way your body is perceiving stress and how we can help our body, because stress can be good. Stress is actually a good thing for your body, but when we're not perceiving it correctly and our body
Yeah.
can't handle it, it can be really damaging.
It
So,
is, it is. I remember, like, every time so I got my degree in, liberal arts, but I got, like, a minor in psychology and all these different minors, and one of the things that, like, with what I was, going after and, like, in my education was understanding my body, right? And so I constantly learned about cortisol, and I know I always talk about
yes.
cortisol, and my warriors are probably gonna be like, she's saying it again. Yes, because it's very true and it's very real. But
Yeah.
cortisol can be good for you, but when you have excess amounts, as you were saying on Saturday, it's not good for
Mhm.
you. I guess I think sometimes people hear the word cortisol and they get scared, like you were
Yep.
talking about, and they're like, okay, well, I don't need any of it. What's a good version of cortisol? Like, because you said that stress is also good for us. What's a good version
Yeah.
of that? What's a good, like, something example, I guess, of good
I
stress?
exercise like a
Exercise.
good, yeah, like where you like a good cardiovascular workout or
Mhm.
strength training where you really exert your body.
Mhm.
That's probably the best stressor.
Mhm.
People that are doing like cold plunging, that can be a very good stressor too because of
Mhm.
the dopamine response that happens too. But yeah, cortisol is, it's been, I feel like, villainized,
It
and
has,
it's,
because
yeah,
I
and we
used to
need
villainize
cortisol.
it.
Yeah, you're like, "Oh, no, 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 no," but you need enough of it, but essentially, it's, if it becomes way, way too much, and then if
Mhm.
it becomes way, way too much for too long,
Yeah.
then your body goes, and you crash, and
Yeah.
that's a real thing, and in endocrinology, we see a lot of that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, cortisol is a very, very good thing. We needed to be able to run away from that bear at
Mhm.
one point in evolution, and now we have to be able to keep up with the demand. So we need to
Mhm.
be able to have some cortisol to get us through, but we also need to have that rest period to like reset so that we're not always
Yeah.
running from that bear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because we have to have that balance. Without that balance, we'll crash. Let's just say that.
Yes. And burn and
Because
burn.
I
Yeah.
I remember I think I said something a long time ago um that I felt like I was addicted to cortisol and that
Yep.
there are
It's
people
real.
that are addicted to mm, we'll say a blanket term of trauma,
Yeah.
but we'll say a sub blanket of just cortisol affecting their body because they're
Yeah.
so used to it like rushing and coursing and but that's where the let's be honest the negative side because we're talking about good stress but now the negative side the bad side of like cortisol like the
Yeah.
excess would be like experiencing traumatic events repeatedly or
Yeah.
experiencing just negativity toxicity or chaotic energy all the time,
Yes.
not resting, that is where you probably don't even realize it, but subconsciously you're addicted to it because that's what you're used to. Because
Yeah.
I mean, the addiction may show up in different ways for different people, but for me, I knew
Mhm.
I was when I was like, what is this? What like when I first felt peace for the first time, there wasn't
Doesn't
anything
feel normal.
it was not normal. Like I was looking around my house like something is wrong. Something about to
Yeah.
fall over there. Something I need something like it was almost like and it was so interesting because in that moment like I heard God say like just be still. Just be still.
Amen. Yeah.
And when I had to be still, I was looking around like, wait a second, what is this feeling? Why is it so foreign? What is
Mhm.
this? And it was for the first time I could literally pinpoint oh, I'm not dealing with this or this or this or this or this. So this is
Yeah.
what stillness feels like. This is what peace actually feels like. My body has been
Yeah.
crashing up and down, but when I cut that negativity off or, cut the root or whatever, got to the root of the issue in therapy and doing all the things that I was doing, I
Love
didn't
it.
have anything to stress over. My body was trying to find something to
Yeah.
stress over. It was like you're
But your body
hyperventilating.
still was feeling it.
Yeah,
I think there's this book called The Body Keeps Score, but that term
I
is
have it.
so true. Yes, okay, so you're familiar.
Yes, this
Like
book
your
comes
body
up
was so
often.
used
It
it's powerful, but your
is.
body was used to that excitement, and
Yeah.
essentially we're addicted to excitement, good or bad.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And I think sometimes when people are addicted to that,
Mhm.
they don't know how to be still. But
No.
like how beautiful that you were able to be, to hear that and
Yeah.
know like, all right, I need to be still and enjoy and be able to appreciate this time.
Yeah. I think that catapulted my love for holistic wellness
I love it.
and meditation because
Yeah.
I didn't even start getting into meditation until I picked up Jay Shetty's book Think Like a Monk, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That book, I was reading that and I was like, "Okay, I guess I can try it. I'll try it. I'll try it." And it was funny because when I was listening to the Audible version and everything and listening to his podcast, I found myself having these moments of stillness. And I was like, "I'm listening to this person. How am I having these still moments when I'm like driving?" You know what I mean? Like I don't it just didn't make sense. But I started
Yeah.
to realize that I was actively practicing calming my nervous system even if I'm
Yeah.
listening to some it's not necessarily like we always talk about, it's not just what you ingest, it's your environment. It's the things that you listen to,
Mhm.
it's the things that you're watching, it's the things that you're subjecting yourself to. And my
Yep.
body was telling me, "Hey, you've been subjecting us to this here. I like this soothing, calm voice here. I want to listen
Yeah.
to jazz every once in a while." You know what I mean? Like it was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, go slower. This is how you get that. This is how you find that resting state and like how you fully understand your power of stillness to be completely honest." And it was really magical to experience for that first time. I wish I could do it again. Wish I
I
could
know, but
experience it
you
all.
know that you can. You've done it before, you can.
Yeah, yeah.
But how cool that is though that you could identify like your central nervous system calming down and you're like, "Whoa," like you could feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and that affects your hormones. I talk
yeah.
about this all the time, but like
Mhm.
what we consume and how our body perceives it. So your neuroendocrine,
Yeah.
the neuroendocrine connection is massive.
Yeah.
So how your body feels stress and how your body responds to that determines what your hormones do. So
Yeah.
adrenaline determines what how it responds to cortisol, and
Mhm.
cortisol then tells your sex hormones whether or not they're going to be, how the
Yeah.
whole process will happen. We
Yeah.
won't go into all that, but it's really really cool how our mind can control our central nervous system, and our central nervous system controls so much, you know what I mean? Like your digestion and back to hormones, but
Yeah. But
yeah,
I don't think it's talked about enough, like when I was
no.
learning, like I was talking about, and you can agree with me or disagree on this, or give me your thoughts on this because I would love to know. Um, would you say that our brain's sole purpose is designed to protect us, and just in general, like as a blanket statement? Would you say that?
I feel like yes, yes and no, but some of it I think too is like our subconscious.
Mm.
So, like, the patterns,
Mhm.
if we are, like, subconscious or even sometimes, like, it's just, like, what we feel in our body of something that reminds us of something we need to protect ourselves from.
Mhm.
When we feel that, then now we kind of kick into, like, we have a certain feeling towards something.
Mhm.
So I think yes. I don't know if I have an exact, like, yes or no answer to that. A little bit of in the middle.
No, that's
Yeah,
totally fine because
yeah,
one of the things that I had talked about once before, and I think about this all the time. There's certain things that like I've experienced that my mind won't necessarily let me retrieve, and
yeah.
so sometimes I'm like, well, my brain's just protecting me, and that's totally fine. But there
Okay,
are
I see what you're
also
saying, yeah.
yeah, 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 but there's like also moments where I can smell something and it like, comes back. But that's totally different. That's a whole different
Yeah,
conversation.
but no, our brains are incredible. So,
Yeah,
like, what
yeah.
our brain does and, like,
Yeah.
like, puts in a certain yeah, I agree with that.
It's
Given that
definitely
context, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, for sure."
yeah, it's definitely wild. Like, uh
Yeah.
hold on. I do. I was about to say if I was going to be so sad if I had to leave the camera. So, I got this book. It's so bright. Hold on. Let me get it.
Heal your I'll say
Can you see it? Heal
heal
your
your
body.
body. Okay, I feel like I have actually, seen somebody recommend that recently.
Really?
It might be in my book list on Amazon too, who
So I
knows?
recently bought it, and it's basically the subtext of it. The subtitle is "The Mental Causes for Physical Illness and the Metaphysical Way to Overcome Them." So
Ooh,
this has been in my cart for quite some time, but
yeah. Oh,
I
you gotta
haven't
read
started.
that.
I haven't started reading it yet because I think it goes along the lines of like how I was saying, like, oh, where are feelings stored within our body, as far as like I
Yeah.
guess for an example, like I said, like is our sadness in our shoulder, is our like where do we actually experience those feelings? You know what I mean? Like and
Mhm.
how does that I don't know. Like I said, I'm really big into anatomy and I know you said
Yeah.
you are too. So
Yeah. That book is probably gonna be really, really cool. It makes me think of, like, Chinese medicine and,
that's
like
okay. I'm so happy you
yeah.
say that because I want to
Yes.
know more. I really, really want to know more. Like
Same.
I've gotten massages, and I don't know if this is true for you or not, but I've
Yeah.
gotten massages. So at first, when I was getting massages, it was when I was really active in like sports and stuff, and I was getting deep tissue massages.
Oh, yep.
Those hurt. Like
They do. They're great, but they hurt.
they're great,
Yeah.
but they hurt because you have to kind of like I don't know. I felt like I always had to put myself back together after the freaking massage.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I've since moved on and graduated from deep tissue massages, and I've started getting medium to firm pressure, which
Okay.
actually, so I'm not sure if this is true for everyone. I'm not sure if this is true for you. You can definitely expand on this. But when I get them, I have a massage therapist that will tell me to like breathe. So, like,
'Cause you clinch.
I do a little bit, but she'll like rub a certain area and she'll be like, okay, I'll tell her like I want to breathe here. So I feel myself breathing through whatever emotion comes up. And I feel myself like it could be anger. And I can literally
Yeah,
feel the anger just go release through my body as I'm breathing, as she's like
that's cool.
massaging it out. So I don't know if that's true for everybody, but that's where I'm like, oh, Chinese medicine, I need to know more
I think
because
there definitely is a connection there for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Have you ever experienced, I haven't personally experienced this, but I have
Uh
witnessed
huh.
people experience this when they have like deep work done
Uh
and
huh.
they become extremely emotional either at the time or right after. It's like a release, like pelvic floor PT, like deep work in the pelvic area.
Yeah.
Because we as women store a lot of trauma and tension too. If we just
Mhm.
say tension, but
Yeah.
tension in your pelvis and your abdomen, and some women who struggle to speak out, like we store it in our necks too. So,
Ah. I
so
thought you were gonna
that's
say
interesting.
hips. I thought you were gonna
Well,
say
hips
hips.
too.
But
Yeah, in the
that's the
hips too,
difference.
but
See, you see what I'm saying? Like you never
yeah,
like I knew all of that and I was like, I'm waiting for her to say hips. She hasn't said hips yet. Oh, she said throat. Like
yeah.
that like,
Many places.
yeah,
But
no, I
isn't it
see.
crazy that have you ever seen or heard somebody
Mhm.
say like after like deep work that later like they were in the car driving home and they just were like sobbing?
Sobbing, yeah. That was so the first session that I had with her, um, I was telling her that I was going through all these changes in my life and like with my career and with
Yeah,
just honestly being more vocal about my testimony and like actually writing and doing the things that I have dreamt of doing since I was a kid. And she was like, "Yeah,
yeah,
you got a lot of stress. I need you to let go." And I was like, "I have let go." And she was like, "No, no, no. We're gonna try something." And so she was working on my shoulders at the time and I was like
uh-huh,
laying on my back and she was like, I want you to like when I press down, I want you to like think of whatever it is that comes up and I want you to
yeah,
just let me know when you inhale, but I need you to relax your shoulders so that I have you. Like you're kind of like fighting me. I need you to
yeah.
not fight me and trust me. And I was like, okay, that's a
We'll
little
see.
scary. That's a little
Yeah,
scary because in a massage, I've never had that. I've never had someone be like, "Hey, I need you to," like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
that's a big ask.
She was connecting another part. It was not just physically
Yeah,
massaging your
it was
muscles.
definitely not that, and that's why I was like, "Okay." So I
All right.
did, and I let go, and she was like, "Okay, so on the inhale, I want you to just, inhale it, and then on the exhale, I want you to just let it all go." And I was
Yeah,
crying because I was like, "Whoa!" Like, I realized that for me, maybe just like I said, maybe just for me personally, it is
yeah,
connected to the emotions that I have carried and held on to. Like a lot of the times when I do my massages and when I have my tune-ups, I like to call them, it's a whole
yeah,
body tune-up. I'm getting a therapy session, I'm getting a massage,
yeah,
and I'm going to probably get my nails or toes done or something like that because that is my whole self-care routine right there alongside
yeah.
meditation and stuff and journaling. But the physical portion, um I was actually listening to another podcast, um Black Girls Heal,
Okay,
and in the podcast she was basically uh oh, I'm sorry, Black Girl Self-Care. I forgot there's two of them, but that's one and there's another one. But Black Girl Self-Care was what I was listening to, and the host was saying that our bodies were designed for touch. We're not meant to be alone. So
mm,
even if we don't have a physical we don't have a partner or whatever, we need to find some way to connect with someone in a physical way so that we're not
yeah,
isolating ourselves or alienating ourselves from that physical touch. Get a hug or find a cuddle,
yeah,
something heat, something warmth, you know what I mean, something like that.
yeah.
But she was suggesting, she was like, get a massage. And I was like, that's crazy. I'm not about to spend like 40, $60 on a massage. And I was like, you know what? No, 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 no. And then I've never looked back since. Ever since
It sounds like it was monumental, like it was very, very helpful in your healing journey,
definitely, for sure.
which is cool.
Massages have definitely played a huge part within helping me understand my body because it also helps me understand like where I hold pain and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
have
that's
you
cool.
had any like outside of like your functional medicine? Have you had any like tools or methodologies that you've used?
With stress
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
ooh, yeah, I feel like the gym was a big one,
Mhm.
as like a release. Walking, that was huge when I was like really going through a lot. So my mom,
Mhm.
to make it super condensed, my mom last year ended up having a traumatic brain injury.
Oh, I'm
And
so
so,
sorry.
hey, we are so blessed that my mom is here and she's
Well,
doing well. And
yes.
yeah.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah, in that time, I feel like for me it was, watching your mom have to have brain surgery and
Mhm.
like that was tough, but that's a recent thing that happened. And walking, I would just walk and I would just it's kind of wild to think back, but I would walk and I would just cry. Like just let it out and I would come back and I was like I feel like weight was just released. So like
Yeah.
physical movement always helped. The shower is like my prayer closet,
Mhm.
I tell people.
I
Like
love that.
if I'm extremely overwhelmed, I feel like also changing your senses. So for
Mm.
me, like a way to like help some people, it's like cold. Me, I want to get in the shower. I want to feel the water hit my body
Me too.
and it's quiet. My watch isn't on. My phone isn't near me. I
Mhm.
take a shower with the lights out. It's like low stimulus.
I might have to try
Those
that.
are
That
like,
sounds really nice. That's
yeah,
me with
and
bubble baths, but that sounds
yeah,
like we might
just
need
take a
to
shower in the dark.
might need to
Think
switch it up a
later.
little bit, but that's cool. That's cool. No, I always
Yeah,
ask that because especially with me kind of having this awakening with like massages, I
yeah.
realized that emotions are not designed to be trapped within the body whatsoever.
No,
And
no.
neither is our stress and neither is honestly nothing is designed to be unless it's
Trapped in
food.
our body. Yeah, but it still shouldn't be trapped in the body
Yeah,
either.
that shouldn't even be trapped there either. Everything has
Yeah.
a time where it needs to be released, right?
Yes.
So,
Amen.
if that's the case, then we have to allow our emotions to come up as they may and let them
Yeah.
move through our body. But I think what we often do is we hold on to them. We hold on to a
Yeah.
lot of things and that makes us stay stagnant and that's one of the
Mhm.
reasons why, in talking with you I was like, yeah, she's not someone that like just stays stagnant. Like you're constantly like you're pushing the needle to like move towards progress or move towards, hey,
Yeah.
how do we get you to a better you or improving in this area of your life. And I connected with you on that because I do the same thing.
Yeah, there's so many areas that we can continue to optimize. I think that's
Yeah,
a big thing. But
yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
for sure. I feel like that's incredible. So how long have you been, so you started the Power of Health in 2020,
Mhm.
right?
So yes, I started the Power Health in 2020, but just about a month and a half ago, I
Mhm.
officially launched as essentially a full service telehealth clinic. Yeah.
That's amazing. That is
Yes.
incredible. That is
Thank you.
like I have to just that is oh, that's amazing. That's
So
beautiful.
it started a long time ago and the vision was there and now it's how you sometimes you're like, "Wait, 4 years ago I wouldn't even have dreamt of like
Mhm.
this blessing coming to fruition completely." And I'm like,
Yeah.
as it's so busy and things are happening, you kind of like don't really realize like
The
I
time. Yeah.
prayed for this, you know what I mean? And like so it's really cool. Like now I can see patients and I can spend 90 minutes, an hour, 90 minutes with them, which has always been my dream. Like you need that time
Yeah.
to really hear their story, like what's happened and why has it happened. And so it's exciting to be in this space and to see it just kind of unfold.
Honestly, it's exciting to see it cuz I even like when we were on Saturday and I saw people like coming to your table and everything, I was like, "Oh, this is beautiful." Like
Oh,
especially
thank you.
after the panel, it was like, "Oh, yeah, I needed she's amazing." Like, I heard someone in the audience say that you were amazing, and I was like, "Well, I'm connecting with her." Like, you know what I mean? Like, it
Well,
just
thank you.
yeah, of course, it just made sense. Like, honestly, especially with the questions that, we were asking, it definitely I don't want you to think that you left an impact. You made an impact.
Thank
You
you.
definitely
Thank
did,
you.
for
I
sure.
really appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. And
I
I know
think,
you'll continue to make an impact, but like
well, thank
that's
you.
necessary for you to know because like it's not it may not be traditional and it may be unconventional, but it's what we need, you know?
Amen. And I think sometimes that's the hard thing is you
Yeah.
go, it's different than what people know, but
Yeah.
you know what? I always have said too, like I could have, this is a huge thing that
Mhm.
I stand firm on. Like when I graduated, I could have went and worked in conventional medicine and made probably double what
Mhm.
made starting out. And
Mhm.
I knew that, like, for me, if I could heal somebody's body and help them get their quality of life back
Yeah.
and really, really help them feel good
Mhm.
and prevent disease or even reverse disease, like
Yeah.
money doesn't matter. Like it'll
Yeah.
come when where you need it. And
Yeah.
so I super appreciate
Of
you saying
course.
that, and like it's fun to be able to help people heal. Like
It's
so fun.
I know. I
And that's what you do.
and
That's what
yeah,
you do.
that's what I'm
You're a
saying. Like
healer.
it is
Yeah.
so it's so rewarding in a whole different way because you realize like you're like this light. You're this light that people like in this world of darkness. You're this light. You're this light
Amen.
that is able to say, "Hey, this is if you haven't thought about it this way, let me show you this way." Like you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's
Let me give you
beautiful.
some more tools. Like,
Yeah,
I promise you I can give you some more tools, and
I
you
love
you will
it.
get there.
I love it. So what? So in the same thread of what we're talking about, what's your biggest
Yeah.
success story as with a patient or like what's yeah?
Ooh, I have a couple. I had, hold on, let me think of probably the best one I
Oh no,
can
you're
give
fine.
you.
Go through your
Um,
people.
one that I think is really, really cool because I get to see it now
Mhm.
was a woman that struggled with fertility and um
Wow.
essentially had a lot of toxin buildup in her body. And
Mhm.
so one of the things that will stop women from being able to get pregnant is when we are like full of toxins. That's one thing. And then optimizing your hormones. But helping this woman essentially detox and supporting her hormones, and they had been trying and trying, trying, and
Mhm.
I think it was like a couple of years. And then to be able to see the baby,
Oh my
the cool the
god.
one of the coolest things, you know what I mean? Like,
That's amazing. Was that a long
yeah.
process to try to like detox and everything or was it like how do you give someone
Yeah.
hope like
So
that? Cuz you just gave her
figuring
hope.
out, well, hey, you know what? And I credit Dr. G too, my mentor and
Yeah,
boss. I
yeah.
think, figuring out like where the issue is, that takes time. And
Okay.
then doing the detoxing and working through that, and then optimizing the hormones. Timing is huge too. So I think that one was like probably almost 2 years from start to finish. So
Hmm.
that one was really, really cool.
So I have
Healing autoimmune
a
disease is
wow.
another big one too.
So
But
how does this okay. So like I know
yeah.
I'm already fascinated with you, but I think I'm about to get even more fascinated with you. So how does the
Yeah.
process of doing it from not conventional medicine even work? How are you
Look like.
yeah, what does that even like
Yeah. No, that's
that's
a good
incredible. What
question.
does it look like? Yeah.
Yeah, I think s- so. A lot of it is like getting to the history. So like,
Hmm.
when did this? How long have you been trying?
Mhm.
What has happened? Have you been able to get pregnant? Have you miscarried? So like there's a lot in
Yeah, yeah,
there
yeah,
that
of
helps
course,
you
of
to
course.
determine. And then it's lab work. So looking at specific markers. All right. So we looked at
Oh.
hormones. Hormones look decent. Like they're okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. Is then you start asking questions whether like, have you been exposed to mold, heavy metals? Have you worked in a place where you were exposed to a lot of like chemicals?
Mhm.
And then you work through that and figuring out like what that could be. And so then you have specific testing to look for that.
That's a lot of
And
testing, but
then,
okay.
yeah, and then my patients know like blood work comes along with it. Like we got to know the answers, so
Yeah,
it's part of
that's
it.
really
So
nice. That's actually like really insightful because my next question was going to be so is okay, I don't want to say this in an insensitive way.
no, I
It makes me think of IVF. It makes me think of like
yeah.
the potential process of people doing like either surrogacy or doing IVF treatments and things like
Yeah.
that, would you say that them going in the way in the path with you, would you say that it
Mhm.
kind of prevents them from having to go down that route, or does it help them get more answers so that they can be ready for that if they have to?
I think both. I think the answer
Mm,
definitely both. Like, there's so much that typically can be done to support somebody's body, and
mhm.
it's not just the woman. That's another thing want people to know.
Yeah.
Like, 4 months before conception,
Mhm.
your body needs to be optimized. So like vitamin D, there's a lot there, but vitamin D and zinc and a lot of micronutrients, B vitamins, they have to be there,
Mhm.
and not only for the woman but for the man. Like,
Mm.
this is really cool. So when the male's sperm is met with the female's egg,
Mhm.
our DNA repairs their DNA. And the better we are optimized, isn't that cool?
Whoa,
We're
that's
aren't we
crazy.
we're healers. We are such healers.
We're
Women are
really
healers.
healers.
But
We're like, okay, we over here like, hey, you
yeah.
can get this
s-
back.
Yeah,
That's
we don't need that
crazy.
extra, and so but the more that our bodies are optimized
Yeah.
before that time, so typically what causes a miscarriage is some type of abnormality in chromosomes or DNA. And so
Oh.
when we can repair appropriately,
Mhm.
successful pregnancy is a better it's more likely. So preparing the body and being optimized before conception is
Uh-huh.
huge, and it's typically 4 months, male and female. So as far as IVF, the more that we're prepared and the better we support our body,
Yeah.
you maybe don't need IVF. I think a lot of it people really don't need,
Mhm.
um, because there's so much lack of information of what your body needs to be supported to have better chances of conception and being fertile.
Yeah.
Now, IVF, if you were doing all of this too and you're
Mhm.
doing IVF, your chances would be even more higher.
Yeah.
So failed IVFs, I think looking at all of that, looking at there's multiple avenues, but
Ah.
both. My answer is both.
Wow, that's incredible. Because I was like, I need
Yeah.
to know. I need to know. And you said
Yeah.
reversing autoimmune diseases. How
Yeah.
what does that look like? If you can give us a snapshot of that.
Yeah, so autoimmune disease is an inappropriate response of your immune system. So your immune system essentially sees some type of threat or target, and
Yeah.
whatever that is, it could have started from a virus, a bunch of stress, and then an infection, and da da da. So
Mhm.
your immune system has been trying to fight this, but your body got caught in the crossfire.
Yeah.
So we can't always get rid of everything,
Yeah,
but what
yeah.
we can do is supporting your immune system, reducing anything that we possibly can in terms of infection. So working on your gut. Your gut is the barrier to
I
your
was gonna
internal
say,
body,
I would
like your
imagine it's gut
skin.
health related, yeah.
Huge, huge. Your gut, what you're eating, stress is massive for autoimmune issues.
Mhm.
So sometimes it's kind of bringing down some of the training. Like if you're in the gym a ton and doing a lot of like high
Yeah,
intensity things,
yeah.
which isn't always bad, but there's a
Mhm.
time and place again.
Time
So
and a place, yeah.
um, and nutrition, supporting the body and detoxification,
Wow.
and then there's specific modalities you can use. There's a medication called low-dose naltrexone I use often, and there's
Mhm.
a few others, but it supports your immune system and it kind of calms it down while you do all the other things. So
Wow.
that's a fun one because people see autoimmune and it's just like it is so devastating. And
It
I'm like,
is.
no, no, no,
It
no.
it it
Yeah.
is. I was just gonna ask because I know you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I have lupus is considered an autoimmune disease, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I had to make sure that I was
Yeah.
correct.
And it's very common.
It is
Very
very
common.
common. I actually have some people in my life that have lupus diagnosis,
Yeah.
and through them, I have seen the testings. I've seen the struggles and things like that.
Yeah.
But was what was super super interesting was in the case of like my best friend, we thought it was something completely different. Like we
Okay.
thought that it was her lupus that was causing all the issues and all this stuff. Come to find out, when we get to the end of the line, she's got a really good testimony, really great, 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 great testimony. She actually was able to get a kidney transplant, right? So when
Oh,
that
wow.
happened, the doctor was like, "Oh yeah." By the way, this had nothing to do with your lupus. Um, this had something to do with something different. And
Uh-huh.
you actually have not had any type of flare ups from your lupus throughout this entire time because this was going on. So
Really?
but the entire time, like for years, I'm talking for 5 years, all of
Yeah.
us, other doctors included, until she came to the doctors in Cincinnati, were like, no, this is your lupus. This is your lupus. This is your lupus. But she gets
Yeah.
the kidney transplant, and then I'm like, well, how did you get it so fast? We were waiting. You've been waiting for years and years and years. And she's
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't know, but I know that they got it within a month and a half of her like switching and coming to Cincinnati, and it was incredible.
Wow. Yeah.
But the fact is, like, we were all blown away because she was like, it had to, she's like, no, that's what I'm saying, y'all. It had nothing to do. My lupus has been inactive. Like, it's been dormant. It hasn't been that. It was something else.
It wasn't connected. Yeah.
But that's crazy. That's why I was
Yeah.
like, so there's more than
I
like,
was gonna say there's probably a lot of pieces to that too. Yeah.
yeah,
How but that's awesome that she was able to get a kidney
it
transplant
is.
rather quickly.
It is.
That's a that's a blessing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we were like, but that's why I still ask her all the time. I'm like, girl, do you understand? She's like, girl, no, but I'm thankful. I'm just
Yes. Yes.
it's
Sometimes we just say thank you.
because
Yeah.
honestly, the fact that like we all of us had assumed that we were all having the same conversation. Well, then maybe it's your lupus. Maybe it's we're all saying this. She's saying the same thing, and
Yeah.
for the doctor to be like, oh, that had nothing to do. No, it had more so to do with like your blood. It had this to do with this, and we're like, you mean to tell us? So we was doing the wrong things this time. Like,
Yeah,
we're like,
yeah, probably wasn't super helpful.
yeah, like that would have been incredibly helpful to find out like when she first got diagnosed. But it was
Yeah.
definitely like that's why I was curious because I know that there are a lot more people that
Mhm.
again they hear autoimmune disease and they get so disheartened. They don't think that they're there.
Very.
Like again, they feel stuck. So I feel
Yeah.
like you can help them move on out of that stuckness. I'm just saying.
Yeah. And I encourage people to think of it like think of any autoimmune disease as a spectrum. Most
Mm.
any disease in general, but
Yeah,
think of
yeah.
it as a spectrum. Just because you test positive and it's likely that a lot of people are going to test positive. Like they're going to have a
Mhm.
positive ANA, which is a typical lab that is ran
Yeah.
for and tells most autoimmune essentially if your body is attacking itself.
Yeah.
But if that's positive, like I tell people before I even ordered, if it comes up positive, I don't want you to freak out. Like this is a spectrum. We need to see if it is positive so that we know. But
Mhm.
it's a spectrum. So the more that we support your body and bring it back to baseline,
Wow.
we cut out sugars, we support your immune system, we work on your gut, we calm down the central nervous system because the central nervous system affects your immune
Yeah,
system
of course.
and so there's so many connections there, but when you work on all the things that you can modify,
Mhm.
it's beautiful how resilient your body is. Your body
Man.
wants to heal.
Yeah,
It
no.
it
That's
absolutely does.
let that be that is the whole premise of this episode. Our body does want to heal, but
It does.
we have to be willing to let it sorry, we have to be willing to let it heal because a lot of the times if we I don't even know what I was going to say, but if we don't allow our bodies to heal, then that's where we
Or
remain sick.
support it to heal.
Yeah. Or so yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
Allow it to get back into balance. When it's in balance, it will heal.
Is it is it ever a disgusting process as far as like does anything that people have to ingest like they say like oh this is nasty or like is there any dietary changes that they're like I don't want to do this.
I mean, I think definitely there's some where people are like, yeah, that's boring. Like I when I'm like, yeah, you probably need to cut out the gluten. People
Yeah,
are like, I don't know about that. So it
because
that would be one. Mm,
gluten is definitely in a lot of things that we like.
yeah, it's in a lot of good foods. But as far as like disgusting,
Yeah.
um, not really too much. Aloe vera juice. A lot of patients don't like drinking that. That's like
Really?
kind of gross. Yeah, people are like, that stuff is nasty. Bone broth, don't love it.
I've had the
Um,
water, and I've made the okay. I've
yeah, but like pure aloe, it tastes like Jello. Like it's kind
oh
of
well,
people don't love that one. I'm sure there's some more that I'm not thinking of because to me, I'm like, it's worth it.
it's
Just
worth
eat
it.
it. It's
Just
your
do it.
health.
Just drink
Like,
it.
don't worry about it.
Just drink it.
Just get it
It's like
down.
fish oil.
Yeah,
No, it's
yeah,
not fish oil.
right. People do not like that one either.
Oh my
I
gosh.
can't think of any off the top of my head. There's some supplements and some supplement like powders I'll recommend.
How do you know
They're
which
like
ones
that's
are
horrible.
who? How do you know? Okay, this is probably gonna be my
How
last
do you know
question
which
for you.
ones?
Yes. How do
That's
you
all
know
right.
which supplements are the right ones?
It depends on what your body needs. So like I'll use
Oh,
magnesium for example.
okay. Iron.
So
Yeah.
magnesium, what were you gonna
I'm gonna
say?
say iron deficiency, but
Or iron
okay.
deficiency, that's one too. But magnesium, there's so many different types of it, right? So you have like magnesium oxide,
Yeah.
magnesium glycinate, magnesium taurate. So it depends on what we're trying to do. If I'm trying
Mhm.
to help somebody have a bowel movement, I'll probably use glycinate and maybe citrate. Those work more on like your
Mm.
gut because magnesium is a smooth muscle relaxant. It's
Yeah.
actually is a calming vitamin. So depending if I'm trying to get your blood pressure down, I might use a different one. But yeah, iron, I will say this, I would encourage everybody, if you need iron replacement, take beef liver capsules. It's way better
Really?
absorbed in your body. A lot of people don't tolerate iron when they take it. It makes them
Huh.
nauseous or they constipated.
Mhm.
But a lot of people do really, really well with beef liver supplements and their levels go up appropriately. And you want to
Wow.
take it with vitamin C, you'll absorb it much better.
Okay. I will
Yeah.
keep that in
So
mind.
if you
I
need
don't
some
need it
iron,
anymore. Well,
okay,
if I do need it again, we know what to do.
you'll find out. Yeah. You'll find out if you need it again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
but
find
that's,
out. Yeah, I'll definitely find out if I need it again. I was going
yeah,
to ask something a little, so this might be my actual last question. So,
girl, you can ask what you need to. No worries.
if we have blood in our stools, what would
Yeah.
you recommend?
Think of.
Yeah, what would you think of?
So there's a few things. It kind of depends on, so it depends on the color of it. If it is bright red blood,
Mhm.
that's gonna tell me it's definitely lower in your
Mm,
in the tract. So
okay.
closer to its colon or its rectal.
Mhm.
Normally, if it's bright red blood, it's usually a hemorrhoid or something like a tear at the anus.
Okay.
Now, if it's darker, then that could be a little bit higher up. If
Mm.
it's black, that tells me it's even higher up. So that would be like a gastric bleed, which is a big problem.
Whoa.
Yeah, but blood in the stool is not super normal. I mean, if it's happening every now and then like it's more of like potentially like a hemorrhoid, but if it looks like you're and this is probably pretty graphic, but if it's more mucus like and there's blood,
Mm,
that tells me that there's probably severe inflammation in your gut lining
mm.
and essentially it's there's probably like ulcerations and you're bleeding from it. So,
Wow.
yeah,
You got all that
what
from
do you
just that. Like, you got all that from
yeah.
just that. But no, I mean, okay. No, because
So what do you do next? I feel like is a good thing to know. Like, is it recurrent? Is it is it a one off here and there?
so
But more than likely,
to be honest, it
yeah.
happened in October, and I
Okay.
got a surgery. And
Okay.
then now more recently, it's kind of
Uh huh.
appearing, but I don't know
Yeah.
anything as of right
Okay.
now. But that's why I was like, is there anything that I could take? Like any supplements, anything or
Oh yeah.
instead
I
of
would definitely support so making sure you're taking magnesium.
Mhm.
I would take probably magnesium and glycinate. It's easier on the stomach and it helps to kind of relax things.
Mm.
You may want to be on like psyllium husk, which is essentially like what Metamucil is, but it's a cleaner version of it without
Ah,
the natural flavors and stuff in it. But
okay.
psyllium husk is fiber, and fiber helps to not strain the bowel. So
Okay.
using magnesium calm so it relaxes it. Think of it like a hose. So like
Mhm.
the hose is not as relaxed and open. We use magnesium to kind of relax the tissue. And then we use psyllium husk to help make it go
Everything go out.
more,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and build that like form
Uh-huh.
and then a lot of water
A
is a
lot of
big thing.
water. Okay.
Yeah, if you're constipated, which is a super common thing for a lot of people,
Mm.
constipation is huge and you want to make sure you're mitigating that. So
Mhm.
magnesium, fiber depending. I don't throw that at everybody,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
given the situation, that can be helpful. But magnesium and vitamin C put together is like the perfect combo to help people
Perfect
have
combo.
regular bowel movement.
I
Yep.
might have to let me hold on.
Yep. Making notes. Yeah.
Look. I'm writing down a whole lot of stuff, but I really wanted to know because, like, when I had gotten the surgery, somebody was like, "Well, you didn't have to, necessarily do that. You could have taken this tea. You could have done this. You could have done that." And I'm like,
Yeah.
Did you have it for me at the
It's hard to say.
time?"
Yeah, it's hard to say. Was so this was in October.
Yeah.
Well, you can ask me about it. I'd be happy to tell you what to do, but it's hard to say supporting your digestive tract and like the supplementation, making sure you're eating a diet that has a decent amount of fiber in it, plenty of water, like that's huge.
Yeah, that's why it threw me off because it seems to be a thing that happens like when I am stressed now. And that's why
Yeah.
I'm like, that's
Yep.
weird. Like
Yep.
like that's
It makes sense.
yeah, it makes sense. That makes
It does.
sense. Oh my god.
Yeah. Think about it. Stress and the way it innervates your so your central nervous system is connected to your digestion. So
Mm,
when we are stressed, when we're in rest and digest, we are not
stress.
in fight or flight, but
Yeah.
fight or flight takes you out of that. So
Yeah. It might be
yeah, it's
switching. It
connected.
might be
Yeah.
going
More
between.
magnesium, girl. More
More
magnesium.
magnesium. I
Magnesium
promise.
rub, put it all over you. Magnesium, like Epsom
Maybe.
salt bath.
Yeah. Oh, that's honestly that's been a part of my routine as well. Like, but I didn't have any. I ran out. I need to. I was gonna
Yeah,
try to figure out how to. I want to make my own Epsom salt. It's expensive to buy sometimes, but I don't know how to do all that.
probably.
That's doing too much.
Yeah.
But sometimes we have our little thoughts every now and then. But this has been amazing. Like I've truly enjoyed learning more about honestly not just my body but learning more about our bodies in general, and I'm excited for your business. I cannot wait to see what else
Thank
you
you.
do. You have anything that you want to shout out or anything like with your business, with your company?
Yeah, I so my website is the
Mm-hmm.
pwrofhealth.com. And so if someone is thinking about booking an appointment, they just want to have a conversation before they book an appointment, they can book a discovery call. And then initial appointments they can book through my website. I really, really am looking forward to just growing and having new patients come aboard at the Power Health. But I am getting into peptides. That's another thing too.
I love
So those are
peptides. I love learning about
yes,
peptides and
yeah,
everything else. I actually before I let you go, I wanted to tell you this. So in high school,
yeah.
I did like DNA analysis, so like gel
Okay,
electrophoresis and stuff. I
cool.
yeah, I was a huge I don't even want to say was, still am a huge nerd when it comes to cells and when it comes to
Love it.
all of that.
Yeah,
So yeah, peptides was
that is
my
really
jam
cool.
for the longest. So
Hey, they're coming back around. Like
yeah.
I think people are really, really waking up to them.
Oh
But no, that's cool. That's
yeah.
super cool.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
for you for liking that stuff.
I
But yeah, that
love
would be
science. Science is just one of those things. It's almost in me as much as poetry is. So
yeah.
can't help
What
it.
you're doing is amazing too.
Thank
I
you.
encourage you to keep going and keep telling your testimony, keep telling your story and healing people because sometimes us speaking is what somebody needs to make the next step. So you
I'm
are
learning.
a
I am
beautiful
learning.
light.
Thank you. So are you. We were just two
Well, thank
lights
you.
passing and connecting and
Yes.
swapping light. That's all it was. So we're just shining on each other.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for having me
Of
and thank you for
course.
coming up to me.
Of
It was
course.
awesome to have just met you. So,
Yes, I'm glad that we got this connection because I definitely have more questions for you, but I think we're out of
hey,
time.
part two. Part two, you let me know.
Yeah, of course. But
Yeah.
guys, ladies, warriors, this has been Queen J with another episode of Let's Get Uncomfortable podcast. I definitely said that wrong, but you know what I meant. You can find me at the Let's Get Uncomfortable pod on YouTube. as well as Instagram. My personal Instagram is underscore officially Queen J. And as always, thank you for seeing and hearing me. Peace. Oh, be sure to I almost forgot, shameless little plug. Be sure to pre-order your copy of my memoir, The Girl Behind the Glass, so that you can have more insight into who I am and what I do. And I hope you guys take care. Peace.